And welcome back to the Legislative Lounge. I am your host, Nate Bigelow, with my co-host, Mike Bales here, and we want to welcome you guys to our July 4th special. Woo! How we doing tonight, Mike?
We are wonderful. We're all decked out in red, white, and blue, just like I like it.
Hey, man, I heard that the liberals out there, the Democrats, a lot of them are freaking out and said July 4th is canceled. I was like, bet. Went out and got me a whole outfit, you know. They said I needed to Texify myself anyways, get a little, give me a cowboy hat and all that, so and some boots. I haven't caved on the boots yet. I ain't gone that far, but I did get the hat. Yeah, buddy.
Don't worry. Don't worry. When I come down there, I'll go pick you out a nice pair of areas.
Yeah. So, but I mean, because the liberals are out here saying that, July 4th is canceled. I wanna put this out on notice. Like, this is the 249th anniversary of our country being established. Next year is a quarter of a millennia. Next year we gonna be popping, but this year we gonna be popping just as loud, just as happy, and we gonna be firing off them fireworks. But for those that don't know, we're gonna give a little bit of history because here in the Legislative Lounge, what we do, right? So a lot of people don't know the actual timeline of how we became a nation. Just a couple facts for you guys. The colonies started the war on April 19th, 1975, and the Army was established on June 19th, 1975. And then we declared independence on July 4th, 1976. Thank you, Mike. It is 1975 when the colonies started the war, Mike.
What? No. What year?
Oh, sorry. You got me. It is 17. Man, see, here we are. Wow, live, and I can't even get the year right. 1775. Thank you, Mike. 1775. That's my fault. But 1775, and then on June 19th, like I said, 1775 is when the Army was established. And then a year later, on July 4th, 1776, is when we became a nation and we declared. Now, the actual Declaration of Independence was ratified and did all the final stages on August 2nd. So technically, it should be August 2nd. I don't know about you, Mike, but I mean, there was only 4 people that even signed it on July 4th, 1776. And the rest of them actually signed it in August. A lot of people know that.
Well, I mean, you got to think about the times and how news traveled and how widely sparsed out people were back in those days among the 13 colonies and the representation thereof.
True. But
and not to mention, back then, our representatives, representation was not their sole job. They actually held jobs. They actually took care of their families and, worked farms and what have you.
Right. I mean, I think they only got I don't even know if they got a wage back at that, in the original times. I mean, I know it took a few years. Probably it was what was the ratification in 1792, correct?
For the Constitution, it was 87. For the Bill of Rights, it was 91.
91. Okay, that's what I was thinking of. Okay, 91. You're the dates guy. So, but I'm floored with how unpatriotic a lot of these Democrats and liberals have been lately. Since Donald Trump won the election, we took over the House, took over the Senate, and I should say maintained the House. But it's wild to sit here and say how people had no problem celebrating the July 4th the last 4 years, right? Or during Obama, and then all of a sudden it's the world is falling apart anytime a Republican or somebody like Trump gets into office. Oh my God, we're cooked. We're all this, It's just, I don't know.
Let's be honest. The liberals, the extreme side of the leftists that aren't able to have a conversation without vomiting their feelings on you. They don't know what patriotism is. They think that anyone who displays red, white, and blue, right, is a MAGA supporter, is a Republican, Trump supporter, like that. And it's been like that for probably close to a decade now. And our entire history, according to them, is just based on slavery, and America's built on the backs of slaves, and we're just horrible people that took the country from Native Americans.
I mean, I have my opinion on. No, I'm just messing. For those that don't know, I'm a half native because of my mom, but I just make jokes with Mike about that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's wild to see how they're just losing their absolute mind. I've seen some videos about people talking about how there was one individual I did a video on today that's actually kind of getting some traction on it, but they were saying that it was they were like, independence from what? I'm like, no way. I mean, of course she's like maybe 20 years old, you know, doesn't really know anything, obviously, but it's just like, regardless of what your political beliefs are and how you feel about the current administration, doesn't take away from the fact that our founding fathers literally established this nation to where you, as a free woman, are able to make speech. Because I'm going to tell you right now, there are many different countries where women aren't even allowed to speak, but yet she doesn't have it.
100%. All these people that, you know, express distaste for America, they won't leave it because their food stamps don't transfer.
Right, and it's just, I don't know. It's crazy to feel that they've allowed their mind to be warped to the point where, you know, just because their party, right, their blue team isn't in office, that they have to be some kind of anti-American individual, when in all reality, they live the American life every single day, and they support America every single day, not realizing that nothing that they're doing is making a difference.
100%.
So, well, in regards to that, obviously, get out on July 4th and celebrate the 249th anniversary of the United States. If you don't, cook out. Go shoot off some fireworks. Have some fun. It's a 3-day weekend, y'all. I mean, what else you gonna do?
Get off social media. Get off your phone.
Right. But in what we normally do here, obviously, we're gonna go through some big hitters this week. A lot of people don't know that today, actually, the big beautiful bill actually passed the Senate with a 50-50 and the tie-breaking vote coming from Vice President Vance, making it a 51-50, sending it back to the House of Representatives because the Senate did make some revisions. Some of the revisions probably are posted by now, but I didn't have time to actually look at them. But more than likely, we'll be there by tomorrow. So it takes usually a few days to upload any kind of changes to bills and whatnot. So we'll definitely have for you guys next week. But I know I've heard of some of the changes. One of them being obviously one of the biggest things that Trump ran on in regards to no tax on tip. The original bill from the House that went to the Senate had no cap, no kind of limitation to it. However, the Senate has put a limitation into it. I believe the numbers when I last checked was like up to like $25,000 for joint. And if you make like $150,000 or $300,000 joint in your taxes, you don't qualify past those amounts, I guess, or something of that sort. But like I say, the actual details of it haven't been released, so we will have that for you guys when it comes out. But the fact that it finally was able to get passed, because it did have a Friday deadline for Senate to get through, for them to be able to go back to the House and honestly get this to Trump's desk by more than likely the middle of July, which is probably what they're shooting for. So a lot of people are freaking out about it, Mike.
It's just a lot of misinformation pushed by news media.
Right? I mean, some of them are talking about how, it's only tax incentives for the rich, when in all reality, if you actually read the bill, right, they've reduced it down to like 940 pages, I believe, from 1,116 original. So, but in that, it still has the chart showing the actual breakdown of what the individual rates will be and how they're going to change, right? You can see at the top 1%, they don't change at all. They aren't getting any kind of tax break. We're like, all the loopholes. No, the loopholes are already established within the tax code. You and I, as individuals who pay our taxes normally, have those same advantages. We just don't know how to use them, or we don't have enough assets and expenditures to use them, because there are qualifiers, right? So you could sit here and whine about how, oh, it's only helping the rich. It's defunding Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security, and blah. It's like, it's really not. I mean, I even heard, Mike, that one individual said that it was going to be reducing Medicare by like $1 trillion. I'm like, that's funny because it only is at like 880 billion right now is what it's funded for.
Yeah, it's like section 14122, and that's not what it does.
That's math ain't mathing though. Like they didn't even look at that.
Oh, the section increases the scrutiny behind applying for that, and then reduces coverage, backdated coverage, from 90 days to 30 days. This bill also kicks illegal aliens off. So that's one thing that it was doing.
Right, and I know that actually, I don't know if it is, because that actually didn't pass. They put it out there, but there was an individual, which they call the parliamentarian, that changed the rule last minute to where they were trying to remove illegals from the Medicare system and receiving medical benefits through that. They changed the rule at the last minute, which I don't know how that's even possible because of the whole filibuster and the cloture vote scenario. But they changed it from a normal 51 majority to 60 votes. So it fell short by like, I think it was 3 or 4 votes because it only got like 56 or 57 votes.
Well, the denial of illegal aliens receiving care goes against intolerance. Like I said yesterday, when you seek emergency care, you have to be triaged. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as Medicaid or Medicare, those people don't qualify. Right. And that portion is getting passed in the bill.
They should. Well, no. I mean, that's what I'm trying to say is that there's no language in the bill right now as it stands. They tried to strike out to add language to move that, but the vote failed. So the bill that passed still has the no verbiage eliminating them. That's the problem with it. Now, what's interesting about this is Lisa Murkowski out of Alaska. If anybody knows her, she's a rhino herself, but she actually voted for this. But it's really interesting to see that she actually wants it to come back to the Senate. So she put out a statement after the vote passed and it was being sent to the House, saying, "I hope the House sends it back to us so that way we can continue to make the changes that are necessary." It's like, you guys had it for what, a month?
Another good thing this does is it imposes a minimum 15% corporate tax on large corporations, and that'll increase federal revenue. Mm-hmm. And another thing this does is it closes tax loopholes on stock buybacks and offshore income.
There you go. So who's that going to affect, Mike? Me and you?
No.
The everyday worker, middle class, lower class?
No, it sounds like it's going to be affecting billionaires.
Ooh. So that kind of defeats the narrative that it's only helping them, because I can tell you right now, not a billionaire in sight will be happy about that provision.
And we'll be able to, you and I will dissect this 900-page bill once the summary of the changes comes out.
Right. And so I know that the Senate had a deadline this Friday for it, but they passed it through. So we still have to figure out where they're at in regards to everything. But I want people to really hone in on the fact that both sides, Republican and Democrat, are sitting here telling you that they're fighting for you, the American people, and they allowed 1.4 million illegals to continue to have medical treatment through Medicaid that they do not qualify for, and they do not pay for. Right? You and I pay for it. And yet we have to pay for somebody else to get it that isn't benefiting or paying in. I just want that to be clear to you guys. Your Congress people are allowing illegal immigrants that do not pay into your Social Security, your Medicare, all of this stuff, to receive the benefits from it. It's a shame. It's a shame where we're at in America. You got these people sitting here saying that they fight for us, but in all reality, do they? Do they, though?
Well, I mean, the Medicaid coverage when it comes to medical care is state incentivized or state provided. And that has to do with covering people who are not insured. It doesn't really have a...
Right. So the way that Medicaid and Medicare works is that it's facilitated on a state-by-state basis. However, it is oversight and federally funded.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people get that confusion and is like, oh, well, the states are the ones that say anyways. Well, not in particular. They say it because they're allowed to, but by the federal government. Federal government still has oversight over it.
Yeah, well, it's jointly funded. You can look at this at Medicaid.gov.
Right.
And that's according to the Social Security Act, Title 19.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I know that, we'll have to keep an eye on that. And like Mike say, we'll definitely dive into it once we get the provisions out. And we'll let you guys know all the updates because that's what we do here on the Legislative Lounge. But I know the Supreme Court's been kind of fun this week, huh, Mike?
I actually have something a little bit more exciting.
Oh, let's go there first.
Us on the right side, we actually care about women. And UPenn, the University of Pennsylvania, bent the knee to Donald Trump. And they are revoking Leah Thomas, or William Thomas, of all his victories and medals.
Nice. That's a huge win for women.
They're huge. And they're writing a formal apology to all the women that he competed against. And they are adopting policies that correlate to Donald Trump's executive orders.
Absolutely. And for those that aren't aware, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, Leah Thomas is the transgender individual that is a full male that won the national championship in the women's swim division, correct?
Yeah, I believe he competed against Riley Gaines.
Riley Gaines, which is absolutely, she was the one that was blown up over this because he beat her in the semifinals, or else she would have won it. Or not.
Well, not to mention this had like half a foot on her.
Right. I mean, people could sit here and say, when you go back to this individual, I don't know his real name, but yes, it is a William. When he was swimming against males, he was trash. Garbage. And that's why we see a lot of this happening, honestly. It has nothing to do with their I'm a woman. No. They've had some kind of mental break in their head because in all reality, gender dysphoria, which is really what it is, people. It's not transgenderism. It's gender dysphoria. It's a mental disorder. Snapped at him. And he's like, hey, I'll do better with the women.
Nah, he's not a transgender. He's a trendgender.
Right? That's that. I mean, that's a perfect way of saying it in all reality. But, I mean, it's caught fire across the country. Now you have high schoolers over in Oregon and whatnot winning state track meets by over 3 seconds, which, if you don't know track, 3 seconds is literally a lifetime. It's ridiculous to see that the left tries to pontificate to saying that, oh, we're the defender of women and Republicans are the ones that always attack women's rights and all this other stuff, when in all reality, it's like the whole world is flipped upside down. Or the reality of actually the Republicans are the ones that actually defend women, and we say it more often, in the fact that we're out here saying, hey, this is not your space. You don't belong here. You got something between your legs? Get out.
100%. It's interesting. The Republicans are always saying, regardless of how you phenotypically present or what you have between your legs, you can achieve the top level.
And now it's gotten to the point where children all across the nation are starting to mutilate themselves because of this ideology that their parents are manipulating them into thinking that they're something that they're not biologically.
Well, you and I just had a discussion with somebody who was completely brainwashed. I mean, she seems to think that when for someone to throw themselves into a hormonal imbalance, it could be healthy.
Right.
Like, you are removing yourself from homeostasis, your state of normalcy. You are injecting hormones at a level that you're not biologically supposed to have.
Right.
Like, for men, for example, the average testosterone range is anywhere from 300 nanograms per deciliter to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter, and the estrogen is on the lower side. Right. When you flip that, it creates a devastating snowball effect in your body.
Right. And I mean, they even went as far as, there was another individual in that same discussion that was talking about how, talking about that imbalance, right? And they're saying that when it comes to birth control, right? The purpose of birth control, now I know this doesn't happen in every case because it does affect individuals in worst cases, like my wife. She can't take it. It screws her way up. But the main purpose, and for most women, it regulates their fluctuation of hormones and whatnot, and it's supposed to regulate them, right? Well, this individual is so far gone that they say, oh, it doesn't do that. I was like, maybe for you, but the sole intent of it was, and giving that to a boy, right? Because I've heard of that where boys are taking birth control. I'm like, I don't even understand that. I can't compute the reasoning behind that people are just so deranged that they think that giving a boy who's biologically a boy, where his prostate and his gonads produce testosterone to facilitate his body, because in males, testosterone is what is the main component or the main chemical that balances everything in the male body. When you throw something like birth control into that, it screws them up royally. But it's okay nowadays.
Well, these are the same people that say that go online on TikTok and make videos. These biological men make videos saying that they're experiencing menstruation.
Yeah, I've seen some videos where they were talking. They felt cramps and whatnot. I was like, buddy, you got to poop. You ain't getting cramps.
They may feel cramps, but it's because your liver and kidneys are processing in a way that they're not supposed to.
Right.
You're screwing up your entire system.
Have we seen a Supreme Court case on anything related to this yet?
Not yet, I don't think.
I'm just surprised by that, honestly, because in all reality, it's like you see cases around the country where parents are suing hospitals or suing schools and all this other stuff because of the gender-affirming care that they're giving to individuals behind their backs. I mean, we had an individual on the show a few weeks back, if you guys remember, that talked about how her relationship with her daughter, who is a biological daughter, is completely messed up because they were a transgender individual, and the school was giving her gender-affirming care and pharmaceuticals without her knowing for over a year. This is the reality that we live in, people.
I would be so pissed.
It's and that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised there hasn't been something at the Supreme Court level.
I'll do some research and I'll try to update us next week.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about the Supreme Court, I know we just mentioned it a minute ago, but Donald Trump saw a couple of good wins this week.
100%.
And tell us about it.
Well, he got a big win with the nationwide/universal injunction. Birthright citizenship was not a topic of discussion in that 25-page opinion written by Amy Coney Barrett.
And that seems to be like the confusion with the leftists right now, because they think that this is like some kind of win in regards to the 14th Amendment, because they use that as their staple point for illegal alien children being born here as them being U.S. citizens. We haven't gotten to that yet. We'll get to that soon.
So it primarily had to do with nationwide injunction. Mm-hmm. Basically what those are stoppages issued by federal district courts, basically jumping out of their judicial purview or what they're allowed to do constitutionally telling with the president what he can or can't do.
Right.
And the Supreme Court was like, no, you can't do that. You are stepping out of your lane.
Yep. And I mean, it's the fact that we had to even get to this point, because in all reality, the Senate could have shut this down from the beginning, because they've had a bill on their desk, on John Thune's desk, since I believe April, and it is called the NORA Act, or the No Rogue Rulings Act, which literally will limit will eliminate these universal injunctions. Because we've talked about it before on the show, how it's going to create this panel of individuals when an injunction was to go forward, a panel of judges that'll actually determine whether or not it's going through the actual processes and it has any standing. Problem is that these universal injunctions, as they're called, don't have any standing because they don't have oversight of the executive branch. Only the Supreme Court and Congress does. We've explained this numerous times to people, and yet they still think that Donald Trump has to follow the laws of these lower courts. Like, no, he doesn't. Well, or the rulings, I should say.
I apologize. Update that won't happen next week. The Supreme Court, this past Monday, tossed aside a handful of lower court rulings sided with transgender Americans, requiring judges in cases to revisit their decisions in the wake of a blockbuster ruling this month that upheld a ban on gender-affirming care for trans youth. And it was Tennessee's ban on puberty blockers.
And they ruled in favor of the parents, right? Is that what you
Correct.
said?
6-3 ruling.
Nice. So that's a win.
So,
I remember that case, actually, now that you say it. I'm surprised, because I did a video on that myself, so I'm surprised I forgot about that. Because that was just like, 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Yes, sir. June 18th.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. Well, I mean, and I believe that's really all that the Supreme Court's done this week so far. They had some, other rulings and whatnot, but that's pretty much the big one of the week.
Besides in Maryland, allowing parents to take their children out of LGBTQ programs.
Yes. That was the other one for sure. So the fact that they're allowing the parents to facilitate that's what even saying that, it sounds wrong to me. The courts are allowing the parents to facilitate their education. Like, what?
Yeah, we're at a weird point in American history where why do we have to ask permission?
Nah. See, that's why I moved to Texas. Here in Texas, we homeschool without any oversight, because that's how it should be.
Well, this week there's also a win in Texas. A Texas law gets to stay because of the Supreme Court ruling regarding protection for children in regards to adult websites.
That is another, and in all reality, there's another big win, but we can dive into that. So me and Mike went off on this for about, good 20 minutes on our podcast yesterday in regards to the porn industry. Here in the state of Texas, they have a law where you have to age verify so that way children can't get into these porn sites and have their way with it. Because in all reality, me and Mike are under the agreement with a lot of American parents, honestly, most people in general, is that porn should be illegal. It should be outlawed.
100%. 100%. It destroys society. It destroys relationships. Kids that are exposed to that, it's we'll say it's a gateway drug.
Right. It absolutely is a drug. People get addicted to it.
And 100%. And it nullifies like your feeling towards your significant other.
Right. Because these children and even adults, right? You said it ruins relationship. It gets this idea of a romantic situation with another person. It should be in a certain pattern or certain way. But in all reality, everybody knows that's been in a relationship. It's not that way. That's not how it works. They fantasize about these things that they do, and it destroys so many people because they want to reenact or do all this ridiculous stuff, when in all reality, that's not what a relationship's main focus should be. But we've become so involved with sex and sexuality in this country, I'm not surprised, honestly. Like, I mean, this is kind of a gateway or like a alleyway, but I mean, even thank God the month of June is over. You know, now we don't have to hear about that ridiculous month of basically just the corporations monetizing a certain group of people. Because in all reality, that's all June is the corporations making money off of those people because they're dumb enough to actually allow that to happen.
I think the only one I saw still doing it was Walmart. Target went all American.
Right, as they should. But what's funny is that we were talking about relationships, right? I saw a video, right? And people make sexuality, America has made sexuality and sex in general their whole identity to the point where the LGBT has completely, like, taken this and made it their whole personality. To the point where I saw a video of an individual who was asking people, just random people on the street, right? You see those street interviewers asking them, what is the most important thing in a relationship? Finances or communication? And this lady said, oh, I'm a married lesbian, so... And he's like, what does that got to do with anything? Because are you not... You're in a relationship, right? Like, live the way that y'all want to live. I don't agree with it. It is what it is. I've got friends in that community. Don't get me wrong, right? I don't agree with it. They know that it is what it is. We're not here to bash anybody how they live because you're American. I believe in the freedom to live the way that you want to live as an American. So, but the thing is when you make something like that, your entire identity to the point where you can't even process thoughts correctly, to the point where you're like, hey, if somebody asks you 2 times 2, you're like, I'm lesbian. Like, what? What does that got to do with the question? The question was, what is the most important thing in a relationship? Doesn't matter if you have a relationship with a toad. If you have a relationship, the question is it finances or communication? Oh, I'm a lesbian.
Well, I think, it's one of the most special things that we have lost with establishing relationships is communication.
Absolutely.
We're hell-bent on hookup culture.
Right. And the problem is like... Even the generation before us, right? Gen X made it so easy. And I'm not blaming Gen X. Don't get me wrong, because it's our fault now, right? It's because it's our relationship. But, like, Gen X kind of set the stage for divorce to be easy. To make it to where... Now, I know there's quite a few Gen Xers out there that are the pinnacle of what you want in a relationship and have been together for years. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that. But, like, the divorce rate in Gen X just skyrocketed. And it's just continued to go up and up and up. And I believe we're at like 56% chance of you getting divorced in marriage, which is sad. Because people don't want to work. Like, for me, right? I've been married since I was 18 years old. Been married for 13 years. Been with my wife since I was 15. We're well over 16 years altogether, right? But we are completely opposite people. Mike can attest to this because he knows her too. Like, we have the same morals, beliefs, and all the other stuff, but how we come to that conclusion couldn't be polar opposite. And trust me, it has caused huge fights over the years, just because my wife is a more peaceful, like, let's what is it, passive?
Careful, she's watching.
That's fine, but I meant like in a good way. Like, she's Is it passive?
Passive aggressive.
No, not passive aggressive. Where they're not fighters, they're lovers. What you know what I'm talking about though. But anyways, I'm an outspoken person who doesn't give a crap. Like I'm gonna tell you, like I tell Mike all the time. If he's being stupid, in my opinion, I'm gonna say, Mike, you being stupid. Stop it. That's just how I am. My wife don't like that. And it's caused fights over the years. But we've made it up in our minds that said, hey, we chose one another, right? We chose for better, for worse, right? Richer or poor, till death do us part, right? We take those vows seriously, and it's like this culture has taught people to say, "Oh, those are just words," so it doesn't mean anything. It's like, what's the point of even getting married then?
Well, the United States government has subsidized divorce.
Oh, absolutely. For
how much money is made on divorce?
The females, yeah.
So much money is made on divorce. And then you get the cycle of single motherhood. Right. And then the programs that are associated with that. Section 8, food stamps.
I mean, it started all the way back in the 60s where they made, a lot of mothers more reliant on the government, and that's why you see in certain communities that have a lower fathering rate.
100%. So, and like to continue that, you have divorce that leads into single motherhood, that leads into I can only care for these children. I'm going to abort my children because I get into horrible relationships because I have horrible taste in men all of a sudden.
Oh, absolutely. It's a whole cycle of people not understanding how that marriage is work. It's work, man. Like, it's something you chose to build with somebody else. And the fact that people just toss it away just shows that there is such an apathy in the American mind for anything, honestly. If you're not even willing to work on the thing that you love or the person that you love the most, how is the rest of your life?
100%. And, there are cases where divorce is necessary, but it shouldn't be an easy decision.
That's why you should, like, for those that are thinking about getting married, or we may have young viewers that want to get married in the future, obviously. Make sure you're vetting the individual that you're looking to marry. Like, make sure. You shouldn't be just entering into, because I love them. Like,
Do you want kids? What religion are you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Believe it or not, now I know there are anomalies. Don't get me wrong. There are anomalies. But religion, politics, number of children, parenting styles, those do matter. They absolutely matter. Yeah.
Question to your significant other or the person that you're courting: did you vote for Trump?
I wouldn't go that far, but like,
if they didn't vote for Trump, don't marry her.
Well, actually, no. That might be a good question, actually, because hear me out. You ask somebody and you say, "Hey, did you vote for Trump?" And their response is like, "No, I don't particularly agree with him." That's a great response. I'm perfectly fine with that. Okay, but the majority of people be like, "No, I ain't gonna vote for that racist pedophile." Blah 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 blah. All these baseless claims about his character just coming out like just pure nasty, and that's probably something you don't want to be with, unless you like that.
Your question should be in this order: do you love God? Did you vote for Trump? Do you go to the gym?
There you go.
Well, I guess, me and Nate are just perfect for each other.
Oh, Lord. Our wives say it all the time, though, Say, and one day you guys are going to leave us for each other. I'm like, maybe.
Maybe. I wouldn't mind moving to Texas.
Oh, but man. It's been fun. Moving into a different area, though, like, I know there's been some talk.
We got some good stuff.
Yeah. There's been some talk over in New York. What's going on over in New York, Mike?
Well, there's a couple things. We found out that AOC is not a Bronx girl.
Oh yeah, that's that.
She's from Yorktown.
Yeah, when it comes to AOC, everybody knows AOC, and she, how loudmouth of an individual. She tries to act like, I'm a Bronx girl. I'm down with a set. She always act like she's big and bad because she says she's from the Bronx. I mean, she even made a comment a couple weeks ago, even to Donald Trump on Twitter, saying, me as a girl from the Bronx would eat you alive from a boy from the Queens. And I'm like, that just doesn't sit right with me. And come to find out, the girl ain't even from Bronx. She grew up in Yorktown Heights, over an hour away from there. And guess you know what's the best part about Yorktown Heights, Mike? It is pro-Trump all the way.
Well, it's interesting, right? You have the Democrat Party who, flouted Kamala Harris in front of us. Come to find out that she's a big liar. She didn't grow up in the United States. She grew up in Canada. She didn't face any type of segregation in California. California desegregated in 1950.
Even though she claims she did.
That 60-minute interview was a complete flop. And And then you have the Democrat AOC, who basically grew up in Trump country, white suburbia.
Mm.
And then you have Jasmine Crockett down in the South. Gangster Jasmine Crockett, who grew up in white suburbia.
Not even just white suburbia. She was white suburbia private school. All right, Clarence.
I love that movie.
I'm so fun. I don't know how many times we have to point out to you people that these individuals are lying about even who they are, regardless of their politics, because you have Jasmine Crockett, who is a rich girl, grew up in a rich neighborhood, went to private school that cost over $40,000 a year, and then you have acting like she's from the south side of Dallas and she tough and she down with a set and talks all with ebonics and stuff. And then you got AOC over here. I'm the hardcore Hispanic girl from the Bronx. Don't mess with me. Come to find out, she's from an hour away from white suburbia, where her house is her hometown or her childhood home's worth almost $1 million, and she went to like a little small rickety town school. Like, come on. How many times we gotta show y'all these people lying about even who they are, but yet they're 100%. Fighting against. This is the part that gets me the most, Mike. They fight against the very thing that they are and what they grew up to be.
What do we always say? The Democrats
will never. The left never accuses the right of something the left hasn't already done. You know what I mean?
That part, yeah. And then you have that New York mayor candidate.
Yeah, the socialist.
Yeah. What's interesting is there's reports coming out that the Trump administration is looking at investigating him because of his alleged support for terrorists.
Oh, Lord.
And if it is founded, they can revoke his naturalization.
I have been hearing that the Trump administration is looking not only to him, but several other people about revoking naturalization. And yes, people, that is possible. It has happened. And it does happen with individuals that are connected to terrorism.
You are signing a contract when you become naturalized. You are pledging your allegiance to the United States. And if you violate the contract, you basically revoke your citizenship.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want nobody to get this mixed up with us, right? We're not talking about his religious beliefs, because we don't care. We believe in freedom of religion here in America. Okay, had nothing to do about who he worships or whatnot. Like, that's not the case here. The issue is first of all, his ideology around how he wants to structure New York is problematic at best. So
that's weird.
I'm trying to
problematic. It is remedial.
I mean, trying to socialize the entire industry of groceries in the city of New York is wild all in itself. But some of the other policies that he has plans for, it's just like, what country do you think that we're in?
Well, Trump already said that he's going to arrest him if he goes down the route of not working with the federal government. Right.
I know that's what basically started the whole situation with him, is the fact that he said he was outrightly not going to work with ICE, and at some point he even said that he wasn't going to he was going to actually blockade them in some areas.
You can't do that.
It's illegal. Federal crime. Just making sure we're clear on that, right? You know, we've talked about it numerous times.
They could literally take that and interpret that action as violating 8 U.S. Code 1324.
25. Is it
24?
24 is the one where they enter, though. Is it aiding and abetting is
25? 25 is the entry.
Oh, okay. So I got them backwards. All right. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. But the thing is like, my whole situation with that is that when are they actually going to hold people accountable? Because we have blatant evidence. I mean, they've done it once. I'll give them that, actually. They've done it once with that judge, right? The judge that actually let the illegal alien out the back door of their court, right? But you got people in Congress. AOC and other people. I mean, you even got Gavin Newsom over in California, a governor, literally saying outwardly, creating apps and creating group chats and whatnot to help these people evade ICE. I mean, there was programs that were institutionalized on Twitter and whatnot, which I mean have been taken down, where people were giving specific locations, which is illegal in and of itself as well, of where ICE raids were going to be held. And yet nobody has been charged with that, except for the one individual on Twitter, because he was actually doxing not only the ICE agents, but their families, their location, all that other stuff too. And he was like a 17-year-old kid or whatever, 19 or something.
There's an app called Ice Block.
And they're trying to take that down.
Yeah. This, what's his name? Zoran. Don't mess with the Zohan. He actually responded to President Trump's arrest threat.
And what I haven't seen that. What did he say?
He said, the President of the United States just threatened to have me arrested, stripped of my citizenship, put in a detention camp, and deported. Not because I have broken any law, but because I will refuse to let ICE terrorize our city. We will not accept this intimidation. And then he said, my statement on Donald Trump's threat to deport me and his praise for Eric Adams, who the president helped out of legal accountability. So the Democrats are now targeting Eric Adams again.
Interesting. I mean, it doesn't help that the Republican Party picked a completely weak individual to run against him in the first place. But we ain't going to talk about that. You know, nobody even knows his name.
Are there any strong Republicans in New York?
That's kind of the problem. But at the same time, you should be able to. I can tell you right now, New York is not as what people think it is. It is New York City that is the problem. The rest of New York, I know plenty of people from New York, upstate New York, East and West New York, right? Like I know all of them from all over the state, I should say, and they say the exact opposite. It's like the same thing with Oregon, right? And Washington. Like people are like, all those states are just they're California juniors. It's like, no, it's Seattle and Portland.
Just like California is Frisco or San Francisco and LA.
The problem is that they have a concentrated population in those particular cities. The rest of the state is fine.
In other news, so I'm actually interested in looking at this proposal from Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Ooh.
It has to do with the restructuring of the House district based on only United States citizens.
Tell us about it.
I'm waiting for the actual legislation to come out. The only thing I have right now is an Instagram tweet.
Oh, okay. So she's going to be introducing it. Okay.
Yeah, it is an interesting concept.
And so, say it again. What was it again?
Restructuring House districts to only take into account United States citizens.
Right. Oh, okay. So I remember this. So it has to do with actually implementing an entirely new census and a structure for the census. Okay. I do remember hearing her say that. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. Now, I know that here in the state of Texas, since we are a Texas show, Governor Abbott just signed into law today a bill that actually would allow individuals in regards to the elections here being held for federal or state in regards to verification of votes, right? So if they deem that something is an invalid vote, they have to throw it away, or they have to count valid votes. It has to go through a actual verification process, and it's a lot more intricate because you would think, common sense tells you, oh, they do that anyway. So no, they don't. That's the problem. So now there's a whole implementation of how they go about this and making sure that it's completed, which will absolutely help us in areas like Dallas and El Paso and San Antonio and Houston.
Yeah, you got it. I hope Arizona follows suit.
Well, you need to get rid of
if you are from Arizona, if you're from Arizona and you're watching this on Facebook or is it Hulu? If you're watching this on Facebook and you're from Arizona, be sure to vote for Andy Biggs this November.
Absolutely, Andy Biggs for Arizona. Get rid of Cartel Katie. You know what? One thing though, Mike, that a lot of people aren't talking about, and it just magically disappeared, is the stock market.
Yeah.
I wonder why that is. Has anybody looked at the stock market? I mean, everybody likes to use the Dow Jones as the pinnacle for the stock market health, right? What was it? Before we get to that, Mike, the actual number, because I've got it right here. What did we say? What did we say about 2 months ago when this all started in April?
We said, watch July. It's gonna explode.
I said before the end of the 90 days, you're gonna see the stock market back where it was, and then when when the 90 days is done, because we're gonna have all these deals done. Because guess what? Canada folded. Everybody was freaking out last week, like, oh, Donald Trump ended all negotiations with them. Nah, that was a tactic. You gotta remember, Trump plays chess, not checkers, right? And guess what? Not even 24 hours later, because it had to do with them wanting to tax digital currency, correct, right, Mike?
Yes.
Right. So they were trying to do something fishy with that in our trade deal, and he's like, "Nah, we ain't doing it." Well, they wouldn't come to it, so he's like, "All right, we ain't talking no more." Next day, they folded.
December 6th, 2024, I think was the highest we saw, which was 44,642.
No, the highest was 44.8. That was
44.8.
44.8. Yeah, I've been paying it. I know that number right offhand just because that's where I said we would be by the beginning of July, before the 90 days, which I believe is July 19th. Am I correct?
Well, I mean, from yesterday to today, we jumped 400 points.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. What people don't realize right now, the Dow is sitting at 44,494. We're less than 300 points away from where I said we would be. And this is July 1, people. What did I tell y'all? We told you guys, right? We told you guys.
We made that prediction early on.
That was like the first week. It was the first episode after the whole situation. What was it? Independence Day, or what did they call it?
I think it was our episode on tariff talks.
Right. So it's just funny to see all these people now. They're not talking about it because guess what happened Friday? Friday last week when the stock market closed, the S&P and NASDAQ were at an all-time high.
Records
Before the deals are even done. Because technically we only have one deal right now, guys, with the UK. That's the only one that's been done. That's the only one signed.
100%.
And honestly, I don't even think it's officially signed because it hasn't went through Congress because that's the final stages of it.
Yeah. And, there's a couple of things going on. We have President Trump said that Israel agreed to a 60-day ceasefire with Gaza.
Now, there's some kind of nuance to that, though, because the leaders of Gaza, I mean, obviously it's Hamas, but there's contention on whether that they even knew about that. There's people saying that they weren't aware of this supposed discussion about a ceasefire and all this other stuff. And in all reality, I didn't know Gaza and Israel were really even fighting. I mean, Gaza always claims that Israel's attacking them, but
there's a couple things. USAID is officially shut down as of today.
Right, we knew that. That's a great thing. That way we don't get no more AOCs or Jasmine Crockett's. Thank God. Because that's where they came from, if you didn't know.
Oh. I don't know if you saw this. Hershey Company to drop all artificial dyes from its tech products by 2027.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we always like to do, end the show with the health and wellness advocacy. Remember when we told you guys, right? That's great. We love that, right? Anything to make our foods healthier. But everybody that knows me and knows my wife knows that I'm anti-vax. And I proudly say it because I've done the research. I've got books, stacks of research and all this. But if you've ever watched me, and I believe I've said it even on this show, I don't trust any of the pharmaceutical drugs that are out there nowadays. I just don't.
Why, Nate? Did somebody hide something?
Oh, man. It's crazy, right? RFK comes out and says that the CDC actually hid in an internal study on that had an increase of 1,135% in autism when it comes to the hepatitis B vaccine. That's one vaccine, people. Out of the I don't even know how many vaccine kids get nowadays.
I don't know.
That's one.
It seems like an assembly line.
You can sit here and tell you blue in the face, call me conspiracy theorist, all you want. I have a brother, right? A brother-in-law that is autistic, that wasn't autistic when he was born. And I told his mother not to get him these certain vaccines. And guess what? A year later, he was diagnosed with autism. I don't care what you say. I don't care who you are. I've seen millions of stories from parents around the country that have absolutely collaborated everything that I've seen and studied myself. You can sit here until you're blue in the face. If you have an MD or whatnot, I don't care. Because you haven't actually done the studies.
100%. And most of our MDs are paid by big pharma.
I'm gonna tell you right now, these doctors that give these vaccines, they can't tell you the ingredients of them. They have no clue. I've done it on the show before. I challenge you. Go to your family doctor, your pediatrician, whatever. Ask them simply this: what are the ingredients of the influenza virus vaccine? Right? That's just the flu vaccine for those that don't know the official name. Just ask them, what are the ingredients? I promise you, they will give you one of two answers, or maybe both. They will say, especially if it's a pediatrician, they will say, oh, it doesn't give autism if that's what you're trying to figure out, then, all that stuff, even though there has been no actual studies released to the public, because now we're finding they were conducted, they were just hidden. And what they'll do is they'll give you a little pretty colorful sheet that tells you all the benefits of the vaccine and not actually answer your question. Because you know why? Because they don't know anything about it unless they specialize in immunology or virology, or specifically in the actual research studies that go into vaccines. Your family doctor is about as smart as the Joe Schmo down the street asking for change when it comes to vaccines. You don't like it? Oh well, because they don't know. They don't.
100%. But in other health news, please, when you are trying to dial in your nutrition, stay to the outside of the grocery store. Do not venture into the middle of the grocery store with all the processed crap. Stick to your meats, your vegetables, and your fruits. Throw a few potatoes in there for some good starches, and get your lazy butt to the gym.
Right? And again, we're coming at you from love when it comes to this, because we put out our team in the back room had made a beautiful video of us offering you guys our expertise when it comes to health and wellness and working out. And we're still going to continue to offer it to you guys because we love you guys and we want you guys to get healthy. So reach out to us. Let us know if you need our help. But more importantly, thank you guys for joining us tonight. We always appreciate you guys joining us and watching, and so like, share, and post this everywhere you can, because this week, it's the 4th of July episode. Hey, go out this Friday and have some fun. Celebrate the greatest country on earth. And we thank you guys for coming here tonight and watching us and listening to us rant and rave and give you guys some information. But Mike, take us home.
Thank you so much for celebrating with us on the greatest podcast in America. Thank you to Radio Dabang for hosting us and giving us this opportunity. We love you. Have a wonderful 4th of July. And God bless.
Have a good one.